Hey guys, U-Rounder here. Welcome to part 2 of our session for today. This is really not great. We could be calling completely dead against this guy's aces if he happens to have them, but he's betting really small. I think his range is like a lot of like kings and queens now, which I kind of want to try to bluff him off of. I know that that's crazy talk, and we have a showdown against like... I just don't know what he could have. I don't think he has nines ever. So, like, do I check and lose? But then, like, does he actually fold if I jam here? Does he fold kings? I mean, yeah, probably, but I don't think that we can rely on it, right? Like, I mean, and also at the point which he's, like, clearly, like, shown that he has a lot of kings in his, like, I mean, that's pretty blatantly obvious that that's king is there. I just don't know if he actually folds to a bet. I don't know. Seems like fancy play to try and fold somebody off of kings, but who knows? So that, like, I'm gonna give this guy a V1 because that was a pretty donkey way to play. Which, I mean, we already probably could have given this guy the profile. So if you guys missed the last video, I would recommend checking that out. I guess I'm going to call here. Raising is probably okay as well, but we have position, so I'm just going to be a little more likely to call. Again, like, I don't know. Because I think he's just, like, if we want to get value, we have to get it from some of, like, the equity parts of his range. Yeah, let's raise and give him a chance to jam with the equity parts. And now that the flush gets there, I don't think we can expect a call from like ace queen if we jam, so I think we should check. It's always nice, right? Like, it's kind of nice. Oh, was that I didn't even realize that he donk bet there. Did I? He wasn't... How could he have donk bet on the... Oh, because he was in the small blind. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I hit a straight, I bet it. Now this guy checked, the flush gets there. Oh man, if you guys missed the last video, make sure you go back and watch it. We got into a really big pot with player 2 and did not come out on top, unfortunately. That's okay. This is gonna be a call. Whatever. This is fine. Obviously this guy needs a volatility tag. Just go around. I get caught up in hands, but it's good when there's like a little bit of a lull to go through and make sure we're keeping our tags updated. This guy's gonna be level 2 because he's short and he's not rebuying. So donk bet, top pair, and short. Flop goes check check here, so turn is going to be a bet. Should be pretty well folded since the flush gets there, and queen 6 is a call on the big blind. All right, our tables look not too bad, not too good. Keep an eye on him. I definitely want to stay at this table because this player is, I mean, he's still 70-49 over 44 hands, so definitely a lot of money to be made here. And he has like sort of this image of us being a little bit maniacal, which is not a bad thing. I missed a bet here. I need to pay more attention. That's a bet I should not miss. Although, honestly, if there's one card I might not bet, it's the ace, just because that's going to connect with his range a decent amount. Like higher. When I say stuff like that, I just mean a higher frequency than other cards. Like an ace is going to connect with, you know, any player's range, essentially more than other cards. And if you're playing range versus range, then you don't think about that as much. Like you think, well, that, you know, does it hit my range or his range more? But I pretty much play hand versus range. So when I don't have the ace, I care about it hitting his range, not whether or not it hits my range or his range more frequently. This is going to be a call against even a, you know, big blind's a little bit tighter, but this will still be a call. We should probably float this flop as well with the backdoor flush. And this we can fold. This is going to be a call. Now we can fold the turn pretty safely. What did this guy donk turn with? Not sure. So I added a couple stats to my HUD so I could see when players are donk betting, since it's so important to know that they're capable of donk betting. So actually, a 3% limp is pretty weird, so I'm gonna say that it could be like a misclick and not give him like a V2 read, but V1, donk bet, turn. I'm not sure what he did it with. Be nice to be able to like see a list of showdown hands. Like the hand to note HUD does that, which I think is pretty cool. I do want to try to get that running again. I did get it working at one point, but the last time I tried to make it, you know, pop up, it wouldn't work. So this guy's donk bet, and we can fold on table 4. Multi-way, second pair is just not good enough. I will say that it's I'm having a lot more fun playing poker now too. Just like I talked to my coach about it during my last coaching session. Just my perspective is much healthier now. And I think a lot of it, like, it's a combination of things. It's having a little bit more of a long-term outlook. Some of it is just the fact that I have completely accepted that this is the path I'm taking. And so sort of like, you know, like quote, like letting go, you know, I've let go of any sort of question or decision as to whether or not I'm going to pursue this, whether or not this is what's going to work. And I've completely let go of any other options. Like, so pretty much decided that at this point, you know, I'm either going to make this work and be successful, or, you know, I'm going to follow this path like into, you know, the absolute abyss, you know, to the point where I have to go like live in the woods, which, you know, it doesn't even seem that bad. So it's kind of a liberating feeling to know that you're completely committed to the path that you're on, to no other, like to no other end, right? Like there's just no other options. And so that's good. And that helps me kind of not worry about some short-term variance and things like that, because I know that like none of it really matters. This is just the path I'm on, and this is the way I'm going. The other is just the confidence to know that I'm playing well, and to have a good foundation for deciding whether or not my decisions are correct. I would say about... I mean, like, I mark a lot of hands when I'm reviewing as like, hey, ask Nick this question, you know, ask like questions that I have. But almost always, you know, when reviewing hands, like I instantaneously know if something's like good or bad. And then like when it's close, I know that it's not like a huge mistake. Like if I think a decision's close, then the EV difference is pretty minor. And like I'll reference the hand that I had against player 2 in the last video. Go back and watch sort of towards the end of the video if you didn't catch it. But like, you know, I had 2 overcards. I had 2 live overcards, a flush draw. 2 live overcards and a flush draw, and I got it in on the turn against a player who is like clearly volatile and aggressive, and he was at the very top of his range. I think he had pocket jacks and I had king queen suited, so I got in against him like where he was holding a card, you know, a hand that was, I believe, very, very high up in his range, and we still got in with tons of equity in a huge pot. So, you know, I might get really upset about that a month ago, but now it's just like, all right, cool. Like I, you know, evaluated the situation, made what I still believe is the correct play, and, you know, move on from there. Not a huge deal, even though it was like a huge pot. So that's that perspective that, you know, this is all like one big session and I just have to kind of keep playing the best I can has been helpful. And just constantly trying to review and improve my play. Doing things like, you know, trying to take notes, trying to be able to better exploit, you know, my opponents based on any read I can get as quickly as possible. That's a nice card. So he calls. I don't know. I don't think we want to overbet here, but definitely want to bet big. Not sure exact. I have no idea what his range is right now. I don't have a good idea about what he's holding, so I'm just going to size up my bet and go for it. So I do want to make a couple notes here. Give this guy for limping. I just saw another guy that had limped. It's player 5. I'm going to go ahead and bet here. These guys both check twice. I thought I saw another player had limped somewhere. This guy right here. So we'll give him the... Oh, excuse me. Just check back. Oh, this guy's got a donk bet on the turn. Whoops. This is a good spot for a double barrel when the card pairs, but I don't like it as much on an ace high board. Again, there's just too many aces in players' calling ranges. Obviously, it would have worked in that spot, but I don't know. Maybe against a guy who I only have 8 hands, so it's hard to tell. But yeah, I guess against somebody who's gonna play 38-0, it would be good even with the ace. But the reason I didn't double barrel on what should be a good spot for double barreling was because I thought that the presence of the ace made it a little bit worse, and I just didn't have any draws against the ace, right? I was drawing dead against if he had a pair, I was drawn dead against it, and that's not a great, it's obviously not ideal. We are in position, but it's multi-way. This guy could some percentage of the time wake up and reopen. So, what the heck did I have? I have 4-5? No, 6. I had 5-6, so not quite. Okay, yeah, this guy played turn draw aggressively. Nothing really significant from that hand. So one thing I will start playing with at some point, maybe when I get up to like 100 no limit. Again, right now, my priority is sort of just doing, basic hand history reviews and going through the data points of various hands to just recognize patterns better. If I sort of recognize the patterns of correct play for the most part at the level that I'm at, that's about 95% of the solution for getting up to 200 no limit. So trying to discover new things or really put a lot of complex, like off-table work, absolutely. I'm still putting about a third of my overall time into off-table work, and probably a little bit more than that if I really added it up. Yeah, not quite enough here. Because I'll do stuff like go for a walk and listen to a video, and like there's other stuff that I will sprinkle in extra study in my sort of like leisure time. Like when I go to bed, I'm reading a poker book, like things like that. Actually, it was funny, I mentioned in my study group, my Coaching for Profit group, the other day, like I think I had my first ever dream about a poker hand. Like maybe it's surprising, but I'd never had like an actual dream about a poker hand, and I don't remember it exactly anymore. I remember the board had like 9. I think the flop was like 9-7-9 or something, and I think by the time it got to the river, like I had a 9. So I had trips, and I remember like folding the river with trips, which is a fold that I probably wouldn't make in the past, but in the dream, I thought it was the correct fold. So it was kind of funny that not only was I like having a dream about a hand, but it was like a hand that I'm, folding. Because like that's what I'm so like wrapped up about right now, is finding really good folds and trying to play rivers correctly and exploit the underbluffing tendency of players on the river right now. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, so like something that I'll probably do when I get up to like 100 or 200 no limit is go in and sort of try to create some player profiles in Hand to Note that like have certain parameters, because I think that would be useful. What is going on here? So is this, no, I want 1/3. There we go. So this guy called pretty light in that other hand. Now I actually want to size up, especially on that ace. We'll go like 2/3, 3/4. He'll probably fold here a lot, but that's okay. Again, thing is like this player is folding whether I bet 1/3 or 3/4. Like whether I bet 25% or 75%. He's playing it the same, right? He's just looking down at, again, this is an assumption, but it's an assumption that's based in like experience and some data. But that's sort of what I'm building to, is being able to go into 200 no limit, hopefully have enough hands that I can sort of find, that I can build some player profiles based on essentially trying to draw correlations between certain actions. Like one of them is donk betting. Pretty much determined that like donk bets, there's a frequency. Again, it's I'm not too worried about this because it's not like any like people that are listening to or watching my videos are donk betting, right? Like most of you guys are not donk betting because you're good players, or you're at least like players who are trying to be good, and you know that donk betting isn't very good. So again, this is that paired board that makes for a pretty good bet. This guy's a little bit more see, I don't know if that's an interesting thought, right? Like, is it better to barrel the paired card against this 29-19 guy, or is it better against the 46-8? I think it's probably better against the 46-8 because his range has more non-ace in it, whereas this guy's range, because it's a reasonable, like a tight range, has, much more. Although it looks like maybe he called me with a 7. Or a 4, because I guess the 4 paired, so I don't know. This, I think, is not polarized enough. Maybe ace-10 we could bet here. I don't know. This is kind of close. 4 ways. Yeah, I'll bet. I think it's okay. I don't need to size up my bet, though. Like, if I had a set here, I would size it up a little bit and bet. I think with top pair second kicker, I can just bet to like a normal amount. It's interesting. The importance of playing well in multi-way pots is so much higher in low stakes games. It's something that I don't think people appreciate. Like, we study all the time. We just default to studying heads up pots because that's what it's supposed to be most of the time, and then you get into games and it's like, I don't know what percentage of my the hands I play actually go to the flop with only 2 players. Like, not even, I don't know, maybe half, maybe a little bit more than half, but I think the assumption is that it's in the ballpark of 80-90%, and it's just, that's definitely not the case at low stakes. Big blind, ace-10. We could call, or we could I think it prefers a call. I don't think it's quite, I think it's a little bit not quite polarized enough. Man, this guy, I don't really have a great read on this guy, but he looks super aggressive. It's a multi-way pot. It's kind of tough. I don't know what that card does. If he bets, it's like his range is even more polarized to having had 2 pair on the flop or turned 2 pair. So it's a little interesting if he bets. I guess it's a fold. I really want to call, but I think he either has 10-8, Jack-8, Jack-6, or I couldn't process my thoughts quite quick enough there. This guy's pretty aggressive. I mean, we have a gut shot and an overcard. I think that's enough. I know that that's enough to defend optimally. I just don't, again, over multiple streets makes it really hard. He checks the turn. I guess this is a bet. Let's just bet small, get a good price. I don't really want to check relying on him to he's just going to check down with 7s if I check, and that's a bad result. So I think betting is correct. So he had king queen. So he called the flop with overcards and then bet the turn when he turned a straight draw, which makes sense, right? Glad he didn't bet, because I was going to be in sort of a tough spot that I would have probably thought it was, a bad call and maybe would have made the fold, but I had a gut instinct that was telling me that I should call, because there was sort of a problem with him betting after the board paired, and I couldn't quite contextualize it or put it into words really well. But if if after that board paired, it made the composition of his range had to be really unique for a bet to work on the river. Is sort of what I'm getting at. I think that makes sense. But I don't really want to go back mid-session and try to break it down because that'll just take too much energy. This is a check. So that was this guy that called kind of loose there on the turn, or on the flop. This guy has at least somewhat volatile profile, so I think just check calling down here. I think raising over polarizes our range, especially because we're in early position versus a cutoff call. This guy may or may not know too much about that, but he certainly is going to be, overplaying his 10 jack and, ace 10 and all that stuff. So here, I don't mind betting for protection multi-way. Again, just against both players, they have so many overcards that, if they have 4 overcards, I'm drawn pretty thin. So we've got a player who looks pretty fishy that calls, but again, this would be a polarization error to bet again. It just is not functional to bet here. And right, only a couple things could be happening here, right? He could be actually value betting an 8. He would have had to call with king queen and then hit a call with a king, or had pocket 5s and hit trips, or ace 4 and hit a straight. So it's close, but okay. Or had 3-5, that works, I guess. But I don't know. I guess you know what? I want to factor in the 2-pair type stuff. It's close. That's a really close one against a kind of a volatile profile. I don't hate the call though. It's not, I don't look at that and think oh, that was terrible. I mean, I had pretty legitimate reasons for calling, so I don't. And that's the thing, is honestly, if every play I make is in sort of that range of, all right, that was close. Yeah, there might be some factors there that I'm not seeing that sway it one way or the other, but most of my win rate is lost, or at least my the win rate I can see being lost that's very easy to see is in blow-ups, where things go terribly wrong and I have some sort of a blow-up type play. So, because we've got the full house, I don't think we need to worry. I mean, I guess we just shit pair, right? This is super volatile, super weird. We just ship here and hope that we're up against a 5, or a 7. That works too. That's the dream right there. That's how we make our money. I don't even have time to take a note on a guy like that because he's gone. But, it's really important to know when we're facing these close decisions or these close calls that are either barely correct or horribly wrong based on the player read, that we shy towards the barely wrong, or the, because there's huge pots to be won very easily where we're way correct, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I mean, point is that in a spot like that one, we are doing really, really well. And those spots are not as infrequent as you would think. So if we can avoid pretty much donating stacks in the spots that are wrong, then, yeah. I was kind of tempted to raise here, but I think our play is okay. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna call it a quarter. Let's see if we can. Any more? Oh, we're at 31 minutes, so hopefully, I think this was a pretty good session too. We had a couple nice big pots. Talked about some good stuff. So yeah, let's change the tape over and go for the next one. Feeling pretty good right now. This is a 100% check raise on a 6-high board. We've also got some backdoor like straight draws, which is good. This we can just call. Let me finish these hands. That's obviously an easy fold. So this is a weird like thing that like we don't want to like blow up, and also like I think that should probably get like a volatility note, because like I don't know, anytime you 3-bet the flop, like that's pretty weird. There aren't that many hands on like boards that are that dry. I mean, yeah, I know there's some straights out there, but that's a pretty dry board. This guy has been 3-bet 3 times and never folded, so I think we want to just go ahead and size up our 3-bet and go for it with like a nice kind of fat value hand like king queen, even though it's like not the best. Let's go ahead and fold here. We're getting 4-1. Can he do this with worse? No, fold. That's close. We've played a bunch of hands with this guy, but I don't know. Let's go ahead and make our C-bet. Pretty good board for it. We can, still hit overcards if called. A little twinge in my back. Oh, sorry. Let me change this over, and hopefully we'll get back in time for these same hands. We're done with the king-queen hand. Well, shoot. You know what? The third flush is actually a bit of a hot spot. The 9 connects really well, so I'm just going to go ahead and bet. I'm going to bet small and try to take advantage of the hot spot while giving myself like the best price as well. Right? Like if he doesn't have a made hand here, he should be folding almost anything. Right, and like to continue, he has to pretty much have a flush draw. I guess he doesn't have. Again, and this is pretty like a min turn raise is like a volatile. It's kind of weird. Now we have now this is called a compounding error, because now I've got myself into a spot where now like I need to call because I actually have a gut shot and odds to get it. Now I've compounded the error like massively, because now he like min raises in a spot that's like really volatile, has flushes in his range, and I'm holding the nut straight. But it's a 3-bet pot, so there's absolutely no option as far as folding goes, especially against a volatile player. Like he could easily just ship ace of spades. Oh man. The real question is, do I raise this? I don't think so, right? Because he's not going to call with worse. I mean, he might. Like, if he has a set here, he'll call for sure. How often does he actually have the flush? Ah, man. Six, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow, yeah, we definitely would have gotten paid there. Let's call here since we have a full house, fold there. That's an interesting hand. I'll definitely want to review that one. Okay, let me change over the tape.